This is the Transformers Reactivate Deluxe Class Soundwave. This figure is part of a 2-pack from the video game Transformers Reactivate, together with Optimus Prime. For this video, we will be focusing our review on this new Soundwave figure. Here's a quick look at the packaging. Fantastic box art. I picked up this set from our toys. Let's get Soundwave out of packaging. And here is Reactivate Soundwave out of the box, and I kind of mixed emotions about this figure. I saw him in the packaging. I thought the design was actually pretty good. You take him out of the packaging, I'm kind of loving his design, his sculpt, just the overall aesthetic of the figure. But then when you start holding him, again, I'm sorry for being a stickler for this, but the plastic quality just hits me. And it's Cyberverse combined with Studio Series type of cheapo plastic. Not all the parts feel cheap, but most of the parts I've actually handled on this figure really feels cheap. I don't know. We'll see how the review progresses, but I haven't transformed the figure. I've gotten him in several poses. I just have my fingers crossed that I'm hoping that this figure doesn't turn out to be a battle trap where it looks great but feels really cheap, and I'm just gonna end up hating this figure because I love Soundwave. If you've seen my videos, Soundwave is my favorite Decepticon ever, and seeing him right now, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the design. A lot of collectors are hating on this figure, and I'm trying to give this figure a chance, but that plastic quality is not helping. Head to toe, the figure stands at about 14.5 centimeters tall, or about 5 3/4 inches tall. For comparisons, here he is with the Voyager class Netflix Earthrise Soundwave, and the old Transformers Prime Deluxe class Soundwave. So as a deluxe class figure, he's not small. He's just about the right size. I thought being just under 6 inches tall makes him small, but looking at him with this other deluxe class figure and with the Voyager class figure, I guess he's in pretty good scale for a deluxe class figure. Okay, let's just address the plastic quality very quickly and get it over and done with. When you hold the plastic, you feel the same lightness as with how light the Transformers Prime figures were. But the difference being, when you hold the Transformers Prime figure, you instantly feel how premium the plastic is. It's got a nice shine to it, nice glossy feel to it, very solid. Even though at some places it does have some give, it feels like, but it looks and feels premium in hand. Whereas this figure, the moment you take him out of packaging, I love the color. It actually looks so premium if you don't touch it. I love the paint apps, the silver highlights, the yellow, the gloss and all. But then when you look at it up close, you try and hold it, I mean, out comes the softness, lightness, just the cheapness of how the plastic feels. I say this a lot of times, and you're probably thinking, when did you suddenly become an engineer and a plastic expert? But when you've handled a lot of Transformers for 2 decades now, you know what I'm talking about. You know when something feels cheap, and you know when something feels premium. And this feels like one of those you buy, those knockoffs, those really cheap knockoffs, not third-party knockoffs, just really cheap knockoffs. And that's essentially how I feel about it. And I'm this close to already judging this figure. It's like another battle trap, Studio Series battle trap. And I'm holding back because I kind of like the design. I love the aesthetics. You have a lot of the G1 aesthetic Soundwave put into him. You have his shoulder cannon, just like that one. You've got his stylized G1 stylized gun, just like that one, just like the old G1 Soundwave. And obviously, when you look at him, because of the presence of the wheels and the huge backpack, you know he's not going to turn into a cassette recorder. You know he's going to turn into some form of a land vehicle, and that's fine. I do like the aesthetic that they've added from, let's say, Transformers Animated or Transformers Cyberverse. I love that. I don't have a problem with him being a ground vehicle or an armored vehicle. But like I said, I'm having very little reason to hate the design and aesthetic of the figure, but that plastic quality is just bothering me so much. And sorry to belabor the point, but the set just costs way too much for a Voyager and a deluxe class figure. Articulation for the figure, the neck is on a ball joint. I love the way, the range of motion that neck gives him. He can, like I showed him earlier in the video, he can have him in a leaping pose and it'll be fine because he can look up. He's got a waist swivel. The arms, there's a ball joint right here on the shoulder, allow you range of motion. You got a bicep swivel, hinge elbow that bend more than 90 degrees. You've got a swivel wrist. The joints are super tight. Nothing, that's why it doesn't feel cheap when you move the joints, only when you touch the plastic. The hips are on that interestingly weird pivot. The peg, the hinge is right there. Much like the Studio Series Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, it doesn't swivel right here on its axis. It does swivel right here up in front. So that gives you sort of a great range of motion. You can have him in a very, very high knee kicks pose. And that, I think, changes the posability, changes the game in posing this figure. The thigh is on a swivel. Hinge knees, more than 90 degrees. And then the feet just have the rocker tilt. So no problem with the joints, very tight. Articulation is perfect. Again, the design, despite having a lot of stuff hanging back, articulation is not hindered. Paint-apps, as I mentioned, nothing wrong with it. I love the silver highlights. I love the paint on his chest. I mean, it does still give you the aesthetic of the cassette recorder, albeit it's a shame that they didn't put in an opening gimmick. I mean, they could put the Matrix gimmick on the chest of Optimus, but they couldn't do something simple for this one, like have this one just open up into something flat. It doesn't have to fit any cassette or anything like that. But the fact that you can open up his chest, I think they should have done that as fan service. Now let's take a look at that head sculpt. Head sculpt looks really nice. When you touch it and you scrutinize the head sculpt, you'll see how the cheapness that I'm talking about. But I do love the head sculpt. Those red eyes, silver faceplate, and the details that they've sculpted on his horns, the faceplate. I mean, it's incredible. Transformation, before we begin. Incidentally, the weapon does fit on either leg, but the peg on this leg is just way too big for that hole. It actually fits much better on this smaller peg. So remove the weapons. You want to unpeg the back. Then unpeg the whole chest assembly. Unpeg the head. Look at this tabbing mechanism right here. One of the early signs that you can tell how cheap this figure is this plastic right here. It's just a cheap plastic. Fold that up like that. And then you want to hinge. There's a double hinge right here underneath his chest. You want to pull that out. And the wheels on the back. You want to split them up and just fold them down like this. The arms, they're going to fold up and around inside the backpack, and they are going to tab onto some pegs. A little difficult, but you need to bend the elbows, just so the forearms tab onto those pegs. It's a little annoying at first, but once you get the hang of it, it'll be fine. Rotate at the thigh, flip these out. The wheels flip out. And then these panels come back in. And then you want to tab the legs together, straighten them out. And you want to fold the entire leg hip assembly up underneath the backpack, form the under chassis of the car. So to do that, you want to do the front part first. You want to tab the fenders onto the hood. Straighten out that car piece, and then these legs are going to slot into these tabs right here, these slots right there, and then this T-slot or T-peg right there is going to slide in between the feet. So it's one of the nastiest transformation. Yeah, it's not the sexiest transformation. There's a big gap right here. I actually thought they could have folded the feet underneath right there. Added another hinge right here, but maybe lack of budget, as always. Okay, my bad. I forgot to straighten out this panel.
These panels are supposed to form side parts of the car. It still feels cheap. You can hear the wheels rolling. You know, you can hear how cheap that plastic is. And it does clear the ground by 2 millimeters. Hasbro loves those close clearances on the ground. He has a communications array right here that folds up, so you can communicate with the other Decepticons. The weapons, they plug in on top here. Shoulder cannon mounts up top right here, and then you fold this one up like that. Essentially, that's that. It's actually pretty good. I like the design. It's like an armored personnel carrier, battle truck. Yeah, I like it. Here he is with other deluxe class figures. You got tracks from Kingdom, Legacy, skids, and he's right there. He's really just a good, decent sized deluxe class figure. I'm shocked that he is of good size and not puny. If you remember Universe Hound, obviously not in scale, but the size, almost the same size. If you wanted to turn him into a cassette recorder, well, it's possible. You can contort him, but it doesn't really work. But I think it's good enough. And if you wanted to turn him into a Cybertronian alt mode, a communications relay tower, it's also possible. I think this is it's a better fan mode, or it's a better unofficial mode than the cassette recorder. But yeah, it works out. If you wanted to see how this figure fares with some minions, here we have him with Universe Ravage, Earthrise Laserbeak, and Studio Series Bumblebee movie Rumble. So he does scale well with these minions. Just wondering why they didn't put enough budget for this figure to have at least one of the minions. And so some final thoughts on this Reactivate Soundwave. I really like the design and aesthetic of this figure. I thought the engineering was pretty sound. I thought the whole concept, the design behind it, all the sculpting, the details, articulation, transformation, the combination of the G1 style with some of the robots in disguise and Transformers animated motif really blended into a very, very good looking Soundwave. I love the fact that he transforms into a ground assault vehicle. All the designs, all the details about this figure, just I really love it. The only problem I have is the plastic quality, and it sucks that they had to go cheap on plastic for this figure, because it's a really, really good figure. And I love Soundwave. Maybe I'm a little too biased with it, but I actually think this is a pretty good figure. And there's the rub. Do I rate this high because I like it? But do I rate it low because I'm very disappointed with the plastic quality? So maybe a middle ground would be, I know I'm being too generous with this, he's going to get an 8 out of 10 for me. It's not a perfect score. Not exactly sure what I'm going to do with that, if I'm going to keep this figure or not, because of my 100% rule. But I think 8 out of 10 is a fair rating. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this Transformers Reactivate Deluxe Class Soundwave. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.